Yo, what is up, y'all? My name is Robert Donaldson, and welcome back to another college football pick'ems video. And we've been rolling, y'all. This sport is continuing to pay dividends for us, and as we're getting into the later half of the season, and I do say later half in the season, I can't believe college football is already kind of almost on the cusp of exiting our lives. It feels like it just started, but at the same time, it's been a good season. We still have plenty of weeks to add to this unit total. And when we're looking at Saturday here, man, I'm geared up. This is going to be a great video, and I'm ready to jump into the picks. But before we do so, I obviously have to shout out today's sponsor, which is Underdog Fantasy. And as I always say, especially right now, when you've got NBA, NFL, college basketball, college football, there are just so many different sports going on at this point in the season or at this point in the year that if you're not involved over there and just kind of partaking in the daily fantasy scene or the daily pick'em scene, I highly recommend you do so. And what's really nice when you're sponsored by a great platform is they do give you a promo code. So if you haven't signed up already, go over there and use promo code ROBDFB at sign up, and they'll match your deposit up to 100%. But with all that being said, y'all, I'm ready to jump into these picks. All right, first up, we are taking a look at a noon Eastern kick. This one's going to be on ABC, and it's going to be between Texas and Arkansas. And I know what I said the last time Arkansas played Ole Miss, that, this might be the last time we trust them in a high-profile matchup. But Texas is a team that really has not played a lot of quality opponents. And when they have played quality opponents, they've looked a little bit shaky, in particular just Georgia, because that's really the only team that they've faced that's actually worth mentioning here. And in particular, when you look at Taylon Green, yes, he's been up and down all season long, but he does provide a different dynamic that Texas really hasn't faced. And when you look at the quarterbacks that Texas has faced, they're just not impressive QBs. A lot of backups in there, a lot of injured, second stringers and first-year starters, and guys who are not really solidified in the college game. And when you're getting 13.5 points with that type of scenario, and obviously Fayetteville is going to be rocking. The Arkansas Razorbacks are 5-4 on the cusp of bowl eligibility. I think they're going to be up for this game. So let's go ahead and take the 13.5 points here. And for an extra unit, let's go ahead and take a stab at that first half money line here as well. For pick number 2, we are taking a look at a matchup between Hawaii and Utah State. And this game is going to be in Logan, Utah. And that's pretty significant when you're looking at the travel spot that Hawaii is going to be overtaken in this game. Anytime they step off the island, it's going to be pretty difficult for them to be re-energized and to be juiced up and ready to go, especially immediately and as the game prolongs. But when you're also factoring in the elevation of Logan, Utah, and the fact that Utah State is going to be able to push some pace and have a good passing attack, I am really bullish again on these Aggies. I think this is probably the last time we're going to have to trust them in a spot like this, but I am willing to do it. So let's go ahead and take those 2.5 points here for 3 units for our second play here on Saturday. All right, next up, we are taking a look at a matchup between Penn State and Purdue, and Purdue is pretty awful. I mean, really awful when you look at their performances, especially against top opponents. But at the same time, there are a lot of veterans on this team, and Ryan Walters at this point is coaching for his ability to stay a head coach at the Division I level, and for me, that accounts for something. And when you're getting 29 points, I do think that they're going to be able to keep it within that number as bad as they are. And because of this number being what it is for a first half money line price, we're getting 12-1. I totally get it. I don't think this has a chance of really hitting truly, but that 10% chance of this actually going through is enough for me to, invest a little bit in it, because at some point you have to find your pride. You're a Division I team, you're a Power 5 team, and you guys have talent. You got to find a way to compete, and I do think that they will compete. It's just a matter of how long into this game they actually do. So let's go ahead and take those 29 points, and for 1 additional unit, let's go ahead and take a first half money line stab here as well. All right, next up, we are heading over to that 4 p.m. Eastern time window, and we're going to be taking a look at a very fun G5 matchup between James Madison and Old Dominion. And when you look at Old Dominion, this is a team that took South Carolina, the South Carolina that's running through teams right now. They took them down to the wire in week 1. And since then, they've put up some really impressive performances and have really shown that they can dictate the style that a game is being played because they have a great defense and they have an offense that's just good enough. And when you look at this matchup against James Madison, at home, I feel like this place is going to be amped and they're going to be ready to go. Heck, they're playing for a bowl game at this point at 4-5. I think they're going to be live in this game, but we're getting 3 points. I say we take it for 2 units here on Saturday. All right, next up, we've got a matchup between Missouri and South Carolina, and this is in Columbia, South Carolina, not Columbia, Missouri. And when you look at the Missouri Tigers, they're going to be without Brady Cook in this game. It's going to be Drew Pine making his first ever start on the road against an actual team that is significantly better than them. And this is going to be a massive play-up spot for Missouri. I don't think that they have the horses to actually get it done here. And I think South Carolina has the ability to win this thing by 30 points. I know, last week Drinkwitz came out and said that they're still in the playoff hunt, and you just got to question where that sanity is. I don't think they're even close. I think they get smoked. Let's go ahead and take South Carolina and let's lay that 12 points here for 4 units here on Saturday. Next up, we have another really fun G5 matchup, this time between Boise State and San Jose State. And Ken Niumatalolo and what he did at Navy made me a fan for life for him. He's one of those guys that I think builds up a program where you don't think you can build it, and he succeeds and over-exceeds expectations every single year. And that's exactly what he's doing at San Jose State this season. And, I love Boise State, and I think Ashton Jeanty is an absolute stud. I think he deserves to be in the Heisman race. I think he deserves to potentially win the Heisman as well. At the same time, Boise State, because of that big name and because of their ranking, is getting some really overinflated lines and laying 13.5 points on the road against a team like San Jose State right now feels a little bit disrespectful. And for that reason, I say we take those 13.5 points here for 3.5 units. And for an additional full unit, let's take a stab here at the first half money line here as well. All right, next up, we are taking a look at a matchup between Georgia and Tennessee, and this is going to be in Athens. This place is going to be rocking. This is potentially the game of the weekend in college football, and when you look at Georgia, they just got absolutely embarrassed against Ole Miss. Their offense didn't show up in that game, and you got to credit Ole Miss's defense, certainly, but Georgia just looked absolutely flat, and they have looked flat at times through multiple quarters, multiple times this season already. And when you look at the other side with Tennessee, there's not going to be a Nico Iamaleava on the other side in this game. He's going to be out with a concussion. And when you look at how their offense has kind of performed even with him in the fold, they have looked really unimpressive, and they kind of been leaning on their defense to hold them to this record. And for that reason, I think this is setting up a really great under spot at 48.5 points, and I say we go aggressive with it and take that under for 4 units here on Saturday. Up next, we are taking a look at a matchup between Texas A&M and New Mexico State, and you might be wondering, Rob, why the hell are we looking at this game? And I don't blame you for asking that question, but I will frame it like this. Texas A&M is coming off a game against South Carolina where they got embarrassed in the second half, and they had so many hopes of being in the SEC championship, and now they have an uphill battle. But when you look at this matchup against New Mexico State, this is the type of team that you take your frustration out on, and in particular, this is coming off of a bye for Texas A&M as well. I feel like they're going to be geared up, ready to go, and they might be covering this spread by halftime. So let's go ahead and lay those 39 points here for 3 units here on Saturday. All right, for our final bet here on Saturday, we are heading out to Provo, Utah, where we have Kansas taking on BYU. And you guys know that I absolutely love this Kansas team. They're 3-6, but they've been a covering machine, and on top of that, they're coming off a big win against Iowa State. And when you look at BYU, they're coming off of an emotional win against Utah where they needed to come from behind. They needed a little bit of help from the refs as well. And on top of that, that's just a game that a rivalry kind of almost takes it out of you for next week. And there's definitely a chance here that BYU comes out flat. And if you come out flat against a team like Kansas, expect to be digging yourself out of a hole, because as bad as Kansas is as a team, their offense can hum. And for that reason, I don't mind taking those 3 points here and eating a little bit of juice. I bought this over at DraftKings and bought that half point, and that's the route I'm willing to take here for 2 units for our final bet here on Saturday. All that being said, I really want to thank you guys for checking out today's video, and there will be 1 or 2 more college basketball videos coming later this week. Sorry that I've been kind of slacking on those. And again, if you want to follow my everyday bets, whether or not I have a video up or I don't have a video up, you can do so on Twitter/X at RobDFB. That's also a great way to get your questions off, or, even just shoot the shit. And I love interacting with you guys all the time. But with all that being said, I will see you in a future video. Take it easy.